By the end of this video, you will be extremely prepared to ask your boss for a raise. Make sure you watch all the way to the end though, because to get the raise, you need to get all of these things right. While you might be nervous asking for a raise, it's 100% total, normal, everyday business for your manager. The problem is that most people do not ask the wrong way, or threaten their manager to leave. The goal of this video is to get you as prepared as you possibly can get. We'll do that by talking about these 4 areas. First, we'll talk about the timing of the ask. Then we'll talk about how to prepare for the ask. Of course, we will also talk about what to say. And make sure you watch all the way to the end, because at the end, we will talk about what not to say. Before we dive in, please take a second to subscribe so you don't miss any of my future videos that will keep adding value to your career. Your manager is a human like everyone else, so make sure you try to time the conversation. Avoid times when your manager is upset or stressed out. Of course, the best timing is just after your boss complimented you or gave you good feedback on something. Avoid asking for a raise just after making a mistake or when your boss is not totally happy with you. Consider the time since you last got a raise. If it hasn't even been a year since your last raise or since you started the role, it's likely too early to ask for a raise. Some companies will revisit your salary on a yearly basis to make sure it follows inflation, market, and other factors. Let's look at what you need to prepare before you ask for a raise. Before you even think about having the conversation, make sure you communicate your wins and achieved goals to your manager on a regular basis. You'll have a much better chance down the line if you already started a positive narrative about yourself and your manager is already tuned into your accomplishments. Try to exceed expectations regularly to make it easy for your boss when the time comes to say yes to the raise. It's important you research the market for the type of role you have. Understand what similar workers are paid in your area. Glassdoor and the Salary Project are 2 sites that you can use for this purpose. Please note that sites like these are not always accurate since salaries are anonymously submitted. You should be able to get a good idea though by looking at trends across your industry as well as others. You will be asked for a number, so go into that meeting with the target salary in mind. You do not want to hesitate when you're asked for a number. The most important thing you need to do before you ask for a raise is to make a list of the achievements you've made over the past 12 months, the value you've added, and any new responsibilities. Try to quantify them if possible so you can clearly show the difference you've made with numbers. Remember that when you have the conversation down the line, you want to focus on why you deserve the raise, not why you need it. Also think through how you will keep adding value over the coming year. What are your goals and what are your ambitions? When you've decided it's time to have the meeting, make sure you practice the conversation over and over in front of a mirror or with a friend. This may sound unnatural, but it will help with confidence and clarity when you have the conversation at a later date. Make sure you can communicate the things you added to your list in the previous step, ideally from memory, but keep a list of bullet points if you need to. That's how you always need to prepare before you ask for a raise. Before we talk about how you ask your manager, please leave a like. It's the only thing I ask in return for this free content. Now let's look at how you approach the conversation and what you say. It's extremely important that you set the stage for the conversation and act in a confident manner from the second that you enter the room. Of course, you want to balance being confident with being humble. I recently made a video on how you can become more confident. I'll post a link to that video below. I suggest you take all the steps from that video to heart before you ask your boss for a raise. That will increase your chances of getting a raise in a big way. When the time comes to ask for a raise, you can't be modest. You need to be bold. Lose any weak language like I feel like or I believe. You also want to be as brief as you can, but still clear on why you deserve a raise. Think of the actual conversation as 5 parts: background, your highlight reel, easing into the salary conversation, talking about the future, and finally asking for the raise. Start by giving a background. Thank you for taking your time to meet with me today. I've been with the company for 3 years now, and I've been thinking a lot lately of how I can grow within the company and the team. Then use the list you've made to highlight your achievements. Over the past year, I've not only taken the lead of the engineering team. According to the latest survey, I also increased the team engagement from 63 to 89%. And as you know, I also launched a new onboarding initiative that shortened the time it takes for engineers to onboard by 50%. This initiative has already saved the company tens of thousands of dollars. After that, ease into the salary conversation. And with all the encouraging feedback I've gotten during this time, I've done some research on salary for workers in similar roles. And I found that an increase of 11% will put me on par with the industry standards for my role. Now, talk about the future. I've really enjoyed my time working with the company, and I see myself growing into new responsibilities over the coming year. One of the first things I want to dig into is how our department can tackle support requests faster. With the increase in salary, I feel I can take on new initiatives and continue adding a lot of value to this company. And finally, you ask for the raise. Can we revisit my compensation today? Hold up, because here comes an important point. Once you made your ask, be quiet. And be quiet for as long as it takes for your manager to respond. People tend to want to talk to fill quiet space, but resist that. To appear confident, resist for as long as it takes for your boss to think through what you said and come up with an answer. Your manager will most likely not be able to answer you yes or no straight away. They will most likely ask you for some time to ask their bosses or the finance department. He or she will most likely ask you for a number though. And you already have one prepared, so give them that number. End the conversation by thanking your boss for taking the time and asking them if you can follow up in your next one-on-one. You want to make sure there are clear next steps for the conversation about the raise. Don't be discouraged if the answer is no. It's good to have a backup ask in this case, like a one-time bonus, extra vacation days, professional development opportunities, free parking, or some other benefit. If you don't get the raise, you need to think through if you want to stay at the company or not when they're not paying you what you're worth. Sometimes switching jobs is the only way to get the salary that you deserve. There are a number of things you don't want to say when asking for a raise. Never threaten your manager with leaving. That will damage the relationship you have with your manager and likely with the company too. Never mention personal reasons to get a raise or why you need one. Again, only fact-based reasons why you deserve a raise. Don't ask for a raise based on your tenure at the company. Avoid any weak language like I believe or I feel. Don't exaggerate or take credit for someone else's work when you talk about your achievements. Never use any emotional language during the conversation or when the answer is given. I hope you found this video helpful and that you get the raise that you deserve. If you haven't seen it already, I also have a video on how to line yourself up for a promotion. I'll leave a link to that one too in the description. And I drop videos every Tuesday, so see you in a week. Thank you so much for watching.